Hello people, I am the Comic Book Gamer, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my full spoiler thoughts on Star Wars The Force Awakens. So I already did my spoiler review with Ian on my podcast Nerd Talk, but now it's just me, and I've seen the movie again, because the first time I saw it, it was after the Star Wars Marathon. Well, it's the Star Wars Marathon, so I saw all the movies, and it was in a theater for 21 hours, and I saw it in 3D, and so I was like, okay, I want to see it with more of a clear head, although that didn't really affect me at all. Like, I was still so hyped to see the movie, but I still like, you know what, I should see the movie again. I've seen Attack of the Clones multiple times, and this movie's much better than Attack of the Clones, so I should definitely see this again. And so I went, saw it again, and I wanted to give my thoughts on it and clarify some things and go more in depth with it and talk a bit more specific. So yeah, full on spoilers. If you have not seen the movie, you have been warned. Let's start off with the good. My favorite part of this movie is Han Solo. I really enjoyed him more the second time around. He really showed me how great he was in this movie. He was definitely a big bright spot of this movie. My only problem with him was I noticed there was a bit of a lack of witty dialogue with him, but that's just a really small nitpick gripe. I understand the fact that he's changed because he's been through a lot and everything, and he's older, but still, I would like to see some more witty dialogue from him, because funny dialogue and witty dialogue are two different things. So anyways, just that was it. But besides that, Han was fantastic. I loved Han in this movie. This Harrison Ford hit a home run, did a fantastic job, and the character of Han was just really cool. I love seeing him back and being Han Solo again. He was just great. I love Poe Dameron as well. He was barely in the movie, but when he was in it, he was great. I loved Poe. He's Black Leader, the best pilot in the Rebel Alliance. I mean, the Resistance. And yeah, he's just really cool, and I like seeing his character, and I would love seeing more of him. And also, Oscar Isaac's just the man. I love Oscar Isaac. But anyways, also, when Poe and Finn are together, those two have fantastic chemistry. It's just amazing, and I love seeing those two on screen together. It really feels like Star Wars. It feels fun, and it's really good to see those two on screen together. Too bad they're only really together for like one sequence, and that's kind of it. But when they are on screen together, they got a really good chemistry, and I really want to see more of that in the future movies. The scene between Han and Leia before Han leaves to blow up Starkiller Base. That scene is great. I loved it when Han, I'm saying I love it a lot, but anyways, I really liked it when Han and Leia are hugging and they're talking about, bring our son home. My only problem with that scene was like the part where she's like, our son has light in him, and it's like, well, if you're going to do a throwback to the old ones like you've been doing this entire time, why wouldn't you say there's good in him? They've never really mentioned the light before this movie. Now she's like, there's light in him. It sounded off. Why couldn't you say there's good in him like Luke said to Darth Vader? It just sounded off saying light. But anyways, that scene was really good. It was amazing. And it was a little emotional. It was the most emotional scene in the movie for me. The only one that really touched me. And yeah, just Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher both did great with that scene. There are other scenes I liked, like when C-3PO came in. That was that was hilarious, and it felt just like Star Wars. He's like, you probably don't recognize me because of my red arm, and it felt like Star Wars. I loved that stuff, and most of the action looked really good. There's only really one action scene, which is the lightsaber fight at the end, that I didn't like. Besides that, all the action looked spectacular. It really did. I liked the way it looked. It was cool action, and yeah, I just really enjoyed the action. And BB-8 was a great character as well. He's no R2-D2, but BB-8's really cool, and he's a cute little droid. And also, I love the scene. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they land at light speed on when they land on Starkiller Base at light speed. They're like, we're making our approach at light speed. We're gonna land at light speed, and they do it. And Chewie's it's like yelling at Han. Han's like, I'm pulling up, Chewie. It's another scene that felt like old classic Star Wars to me, and it was I really enjoyed that stuff, especially that scene. It was great. Now on to the bad stuff. Me actually talking about the flaws in the movie. I'll probably get a lot of hate for this like I did before. But anyways, time for the bad. First off, one of the things that a lot of people did not understand, like I said before, is the fact that it does borrow a lot from A New Hope and so the rest of the original trilogy. But it does not feel like Star Wars, besides those few scenes I've mentioned. And what I mean by that is it borrows like sort of characteristics and stuff and story elements from A New Hope, but the overall feeling and atmosphere was not Star Wars. For instance, the character of Finn really felt out of place in this movie. He did not feel like mainly his dialogue was what threw me off, because he had a cool backstory. Like, the idea of Finn is really cool. I like the idea of a stormtrooper turning from the dark side, well, not the dark side, but from the First Order to the Resistance. I really like that idea. However, the execution wasn't done so well, but I'll talk about Finn in a moment. What I mean by him feeling out of place is mainly his dialogue. You got stuff like "droid, please," or "you got a boyfriend, you got a cute boyfriend," and then when he first meets Rey, and she's like, "You're a Resistance fighter?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm part of the Resistance. I'm with the Resistance. I'm with the Resistance." And then she's like, "I've never seen a Resistance fighter before," and he goes, "Well, this is what we look like." "Well, not all of us. Some of us look different." It's like, this does not sound like Star Wars dialogue at all. This really feels out of place. He seemed like someone out of a Marvel movie is what he seemed like. Finn just, he felt out of place. And he's like constantly joking and stuff like, I'm a big deal in the Resistance. It's like, okay, you don't feel like you're in the right spot here. And that's one of the things I mean by the fact that it just feels out of place and threw me off, and a lot of stuff did. Like that scene when they're on the Han scavenger ship, and you got, his smuggler ship, and you got these weird-looking aliens going around killing everyone that they let out. That felt like something out of Guardians of the Galaxy or Star Trek. It did not feel like Star Wars at all. I hated that scene. It was just like, what is going on here? It just didn't feel like Star Wars to me at all. And that's something that really, it was disappointing to me. And yeah, that's what I mean by it doesn't feel like Star Wars for a lot of this movie. But anyways, the character of Finn that I was just talking about, Finn, like I said, cool idea, but the execution was bad because really his first time, well, first off, he's programmed from the beginning. He said he was taken from a home he'll never know. And so he's been brought up this way to be ruthless, yet he's this comedic goofball who's not really good at anything but running away. But when he turns, it's his first time, and the funny thing is he turns and then immediately kills tons of his own stormtroopers, even though part of the reason he turned to the good side is the fact that he saw a stormtrooper get murdered and then the bloody handprint and everything, and then he saw all the villagers get killed. Yet he's in the TIE fighter, and then he just starts killing all of those stormtroopers. Like, okay, I guess that works. That's a little weird. That's part of what I mean when I said before that character development's not too good. Like, he went from being the stormtrooper to just being on the good side and killing. Fine. He's just fine with killing. It's like, okay, I guess that works. And they should have done it better, because really you're going to send the newbie his first time out on the kill the defenseless villagers mission, because they had all the villagers lined up in a circle. Well, not lined up, but they had them all encircled in this area, and then they're just like, kill them all. It's like, well, it's his first time out, even if he's been from birth been brainwashed basically. I don't think he would send the newbie on that mission. You just don't do that. Also, why wouldn't you use clones? Like, the clones were the only thing that were ever good. They killed tons of Jedi, because, Kylo Ren mentions later, maybe we should use the clone army. It's like, yeah, clones are the only ones that ever did anything. People talk about the First Order doing more. The First Order still didn't do anything. Remember that scene where Rey's in the woods and the stormtrooper shoots at her and just completely misses? I mean, she shoots once and misses, and then she nails how to use a gun, but I'll get into that in a bit. But that stormtrooper has been trained with that blaster, can't hit her to save his life right there. That's not really a gripe to me, because, it's stormtroopers, I expect that. But when people say, the First Order can shoot now, it's like, no, stormtroopers still can't shoot. Stormtroopers are still normal stormtroopers, but yeah, I just felt like Finn was a waste of a character, because he could have been so cool. I liked the stuff, like when he was like, this is how the Starkiller base is because I worked there. And then when he's like, when they were going to poison him with gas, Han and Chewie, and they were coming on, they're like, will this work on stormtroopers? And he was just like, yeah, it doesn't filter out toxins, it does this and this. I was like, okay, cool, giving us, this First Order knowledge. I like that stuff. But that's kind of it. The only scene I really liked Finn in was the part where they're at Maz Kanata's place, her cantina basically, and she crawls across the table. It was really stupid. And she's like, you got the eyes of a runner. And then he looks back at her and he's like, the First Order will destroy us. There's no chance. We have to run. I really like that scene. It showcased John Boyega's acting chops. He's much more than just some stupid goofball. He did a great job, and it showed me how much of a waste Finn is, because I'm like, man, John Boyega's really good. If only he was playing a character I cared about. But the character development was not there. Also, one of my big gripes about this was the lack of originality and the fact that, you had so much stuff that was the same. Han Solo was the Ben Kenobi of this film. He was the father-like figure that then dies. Captain Phasma was the Boba Fett of this film. You even have a scene where they're planning out how to destroy the Death Star, but it's not a Death Star. And then they go on their little trench run. It's like so many remakes. They basically remade A New Hope. Also, all the stuff that's new, well, like, they took stuff from the other movies and just renamed it. Hey, Rebels. Nope, we're the Resistance. Okay, what about the Empire? Nope, the First Order. What about Tatooine? Let's go back to Tatooine. No, we'll just make a new desert planet, call it Jakku. Why couldn't that have just been Tatooine? Then you got the planet that's Yavin, but it's not called Yavin, but it looks just like Yavin. It's like, okay, just so many different things that are like the same from the other Star Wars movies, but decide to rename it. I really hated the lack of originality especially when it came to planets, because it's like J.J. Abrams, please give us some new, interesting, awesome planets. Instead, nope, I'll just give you rehashes of old ones, but slap a new name on it, just as good. Like, yeah, okay, that's great. But it's new. It's not reused. This is new. No, it's not. Anyways, just yeah, that disappointed me there. To me, this movie was flat out predictable. There was basically nothing I didn't see coming. Like, very few things that I did not see were gonna happen. Basically, everything that actually happened in the story that was something big, I saw coming. I was like, okay, yep, knew that was gonna happen. Especially Han's death. Han's death was, to me, handled terribly. I hated it, because I thought, prior to going into this movie, I thought Han was gonna die, but I thought I was gonna cry in the theater, because, Han, he's gonna die. That'd be so sad, because basically everyone was thinking he was gonna die. It made sense, and he did. But I'm not mad at them for killing Han. I'm mad at the way it was handled. It was handled very poorly. He went on that bridge. Everyone knew it was going to happen. Like, we had not seen, really, these two characters interact at all before, so there's no emotional connection between them and the audience. So it's just like, okay, two characters we haven't seen interact before, go up there, and he kills him. Okay, like, that's pretty stupid. What was that? It was supposed to be this big emotional moment, and it didn't hit me. I was just mad at J.J. Abrams for the way it was handled. It didn't hit me. And then Chewie. Chewie was really misused in this movie as well, because Chewie was basically comic relief throughout the entire movie. Because literally the camera just turned to Chewie, and then he would do some roar and be like, ha, classic Chewie. He'd just roar about something and be funny. And I'm like, okay, that's all Chewie's used for, is comic relief. That's basically all he's used for in this movie. But then he goes on a little tangent. He gets mad and kills like 5 stormtroopers. And it's really cool, but that's it. That's all he does. And then they get back to the planet and everything is fine. He's like, yeah, Rey's my new buddy. It's like, Chewie, did you know Han just died? Because I think you might have missed that. You're mad for a bit. Maybe you just thought it was a dream. I don't know. But he didn't seem too upset about it after that. He was mad at first, and that was kind of it for Chewie. Another thing that really bothered me in this movie is the fact that, like, the first 15 minutes or so that Finn and Rey are together, it's basically showing how inferior Finn is to Rey. That's basically what it is. It's just, hey, Finn can't do this, but Rey can. Rey can do everything. And that's what happened during, like, the first 15 minutes they're together, because just Finn's a big goofball that's completely incompetent, and Rey's the opposite. She's a determined girl that's, like, can do anything. It's like, okay, then whatever. Like, why? Why would you do that? Why would you have just Finn? What's the point of having Finn around? He's literally, like, the only time he's good for anything is Starkiller Base, and the fact that he broke Poe out. Besides that, he can't do anything. And even Starkiller Base, that was all luck that they ran into Captain Phasma there, because he had no plan for taking down that shield. So breaking Poe out was the only thing he ever did. And it brings me back to the fact that Finn was, like, a big waste. But anyways, I hated that, because it's like, do you have to do this? Just look at the part where they're in the Millennium Falcon. They're all going to hide down the compartment. Finn falls over. Like, okay, yep, that's good old Finn. He just completely incompetent and a goofball. Yep, and just in case you hadn't let me know already, I know now that Finn is incompetent. Now I feel kind of like going down the list of characters, and the new characters mostly in this movie, and just tell you guys what I thought of them. So I already said I love Poe Dameron. Kylo Ren, another wasted character. Up until he takes his mask off, I really like Kylo Ren, because he's intimidating, he's really cool. Then he takes his mask off and he's Anakin. It's basically what it is, because he's got tears in his eyes. It's like, what? What if you saw Darth Vader crying in A New Hope? It would be like, why is Darth Vader crying here? I thought he was this awesome dude, and he's just crying. What? And that's what he's doing. He's got tears in his eyes when he's interrogating someone. Isn't that interrogation 101? Don't cry in front of the person you're interrogating? I mean, that's what I thought. I mean, I've never interrogated anyone before, but I have a feeling, when you're there in Guantanamo Bay and stuff, they're not like crying in front of him. But he's there to interrogate her, and he's got tears in his eyes. It's like, yeah, keep the mask on, please. And from there, it all went downhill. We see that just he can't do anything. He almost gets beat by a janitor. Yep, a guy who's trained like his entire life, Finn almost beats him with a lightsaber, and Finn has never used a lightsaber before. But yeah, that's what happens. And then, yeah, I was really disappointed with Kylo Ren because he was awesome at first, stopping lasers with the Force, just paralyzing people. It was so cool. Also, he was whiny. He was Anakin, basically. He looked like Anakin, and he acted a lot like Anakin, except for the fact that he didn't have as good of a reason as Anakin, as far as we know. Because if you look at it, he has Han and Leia as parents, and then he has Luke as a teacher. I think that seems like a decent upbringing. Anakin Skywalker, while his turn to the dark side was really whiny and disappointing in the prequels, his mother died. He never had a father. He has visions of his wife dying. His wife finally does die. He gets manipulated by the Emperor, and that was one of the best parts of those crappy movies, was the Emperor. And we actually got to see him turn to the dark side. It's like, okay, at least he has some reason. While they may not be the best, and he's still whiny, at least Anakin has some reasons. This guy, they don't even tell us. He just is really whiny about everything. And he's like, I feel the pull to the light, except not really. Not really at all. He just, he kills his father, and I guess I think that was him sealing the deal of the dark side thing. He's like, if I kill my father, I will no longer feel the pull to the light. I'm stuck in the dark side. I'm there. I'm locking the door, throwing away the key. I'm in the dark side. That's what it seems like to me. I'm thinking. But yeah, just Kylo was to be a disappointment as well. I loved his character at first, up until that scene, because man, don't cry during interrogations. That's just don't have tears in your eyes when you're interrogating someone. That's how it works. At least that's what I think. Now on to Rey. I'm not going to call her Mary Sue because I've never used that term before, and I'm not going to start now. But I said prior to Max Landis saying all that stuff, I said she was too good at everything, and everything came way too easier to her. She was as good as she needed to be. She could do whatever she wanted, basically. I did not like that. Just the fact that it makes sense she's a master scavenger. It makes sense she can fight a bit because, she's had to fend for herself. But everything else, the fact that she can fly the Millennium Falcon like a complete master. Seriously, she said she's never flown the Millennium Falcon before, and she's never been off-world. Yet, she almost crashes it as soon as she starts flying it, and then masters it. Just immediately masters flying the Millennium Falcon. And so they just did that because, she's great at everything. And then she knows the Millennium Falcon better than Han Solo himself. She can just fixes everything up like it's nothing. And so this guy who spent, so much time in the Millennium Falcon calls it his home. He doesn't know how to fix it. But Rey does, this girl who just never really bothered with the Millennium Falcon because it's a piece of junk. But she knows how to fix it and everything. She knows everything about it. And then she's a master shot. She misses her first shot and then nails the stormtrooper. And I think she misses maybe a total of 2 or 3 shots in the entire movie. Go back and watch A New Hope and look at the part where Leia and Luke have to swing across. They miss so many shots, and Leia's trained and Luke's not, but Luke misses so many shots there. If you want to make a comparison there. But to where she doesn't. She's never even used a blaster before, and she just completely nails everything. Because she never used a blaster before, and Han was like, you know how to use it? She's like, squeeze the trigger. He says there's a little bit more to it than that. Apparently not. All you gotta do is squeeze the trigger. And I could have seen past that, her just hitting basically everyone, if it would have made her bad in one department at least. But she's not. She's a master with a lightsaber. She's a master of the Force. She's great at everything. There's not one thing she's bad. The only time really anything happened to her was when Kylo Ren was in the Force. Was in the forest, and he used the Force on her to paralyze her. That was kind of it. Besides that, she just did everything she needed to do. And now, I'm going to go into the lightsaber fight later, so I'll talk about that in a bit. But moving on to Maz Kanata. I hated Maz Kanata so much. I hated Maz Kanata. She's just a stupid character, basically used for the plot. So they could just go there and have a remake of the Cantina scene, which wasn't near as good as the Cantina scene. Yeah, I didn't like Maz Kanata. I hated her. General Hux was another just meh character. Didn't like General Hux. He was just kind of there. Supreme Leader Snoke, same thing. He wasn't interesting at all, and that's another thing with the lack of originality. We got an Emperor character, we got a Darth Vader character, because, People want stuff to be like the originals, so that's what J.J. Abrams did. I feel kind of like this movie was a bit of an apology for the prequels from J.J. Abrams, because of the fact that it's like, hey, the prequels did not have like a main badass female Jedi, so we'll make a female Jedi and we'll have her be the best ever. And then you got like, well, the prequels wasn't enough like the originals. We'll make it exactly like the originals, at least in like story and copy scenes from it. Make it exactly like the originals. Well, the prequels were boring, like episode 1 and 2 didn't have very much action. When it did, it was like all CGI. We'll give you a lot of action. The prequels weren't very funny. The jokes didn't land. We'll give you so much humor, you'll be sick of it. It's like, oh, well, they did all that. Like, that. I felt like it was an apology. I really feel like J.J. Abrams went to, like, a messenger board or something, like a forums of people complaining about the prequels and just decided to overload on everything. And just like, okay, people didn't like this or this or this, so we'll just overdose them with this. Just throw so much of this stuff that wasn't in the prequels in there. They want a badass female Jedi? Oh, she'll make Luke look like he's nothing. Like, seriously, I can't wait for the next movie and see her training Luke. Luke needs more training than she does. Dang, like, she's a master. We haven't seen anyone do stuff that she does. And to be clear, the reason her being great at everything doesn't make sense is because it doesn't really line up with Star Wars or anything, or make her like an interesting character. For other movies, it makes sense why people are great at everything. It lines up, like there's stuff explained. For instance, Superman, my favorite superhero of all time. People will be like, well, he's a Gary Stu. He's great at everything. It's like, well, it's kind of explained, and he's a different type of character than Rey. It's explained why he's good at a lot of stuff. To where Rey, she just is. We've never seen anyone master the Force like she has. She just is that good at everything. Which is, again, part of the weak character development in this movie. At least that's my opinion on it, because the character development was not there, in my opinion. Of course, all of this is my opinion. Let's move on. Captain Phasma was a character I forgot to mention. She was something I did not like in this movie. She was the Boba Fett of this movie. Looked amazing. So cool. Did absolutely nothing, but she looked great. I would have liked to seen her do something. I think it would have been cool if she was the one that was fighting Finn when they did that lightsaber battle between Finn and the Stormtrooper, and Finn lost that battle, which is another thing that's kind of funny because Finn almost beats Kylo Ren but gets his butt kicked by a Stormtrooper. That's what I think is funny. Like, he couldn't land a hit on that Stormtrooper, but he hits Kylo Ren with his lightsaber. And so, yeah, just showing how stupid Kylo Ren is. But, yeah, I wanted Captain Phasma to do something. She didn't have to do anything too big, but I would have liked to see her just kicking Rebel butt. That would have been cool. Now let's talk about the final lightsaber fight, which was really disappointing to me. I was so disappointed with it. Like, the best lightsaber fight in this movie is between an ex-janitor and a stormtrooper. Yeah, that's kind of sad. That fight was great, though. It's a very short fight, but I love that fight when the stormtrooper's like, traitor, throws down his stuff and pulls out that like little electrical thing. That was so cool. It lasted very little, and then he got his butt kicked and gets saved by Han. I liked that, and if that was Rey, she would not have gotten her butt kicked or anything, and she would have been saving everyone else. But anyways, I like that. And then the final lightsaber battle happens. First off, let's get all the excuses everyone has been making out of the way. So, why is Rey so good with a lightsaber? Well, she trained with a staff her entire life and everything. She used a staff all the time. Beating someone with a staff is way different than training against someone, than fighting against someone who can actually defend against themselves with something else. Those people are getting hit straight in the body. They're not having like a stick or anything to block it. That's way different when you're fighting someone who has something else. And other people are saying, well, Kylo Ren didn't have anyone to train against. Yeah, he did. He had stormtroopers with those electrical things. You're telling me he never trained against them or anything like that? No, he definitely trained. He trained with Luke, and he also trained with Snoke. We heard that. In the movie, Snoke says he trained with him. So we know he trained with him, and he also trained with Luke. So he has way more training than Rey does. What about the fact that Kylo Ren was hit with a bowcaster? Well, if you will recall, Rey was sent flying into a tree and got knocked out. So they were both pretty much equally injured. Because Kylo Ren just gets hit with a bowcaster and kind of just takes it like a champ. He like bends down a bit and it's like, oh, I'm fine. And Rey gets completely knocked out when she's thrown against a tree. They are both very injured. Rey may have a concussion. but she still kicks his butt. And that fight just, at first she's running away a bit, and then she she closes her eyes for 12 seconds. I counted because I was like, I want to see how I know it's a big nerdy thing to do, but anyways, they were locking sabers for 25 seconds. Yes, it's a really long saber lock, and then she closes her eyes for 12 seconds of those 25 seconds. He doesn't do anything. I thought it was really stupid when he said, "Join me, you need a teacher." I hated that. I was like, "You need a teacher, join me." I was like, what? Where'd this come from? This is so stupid. This whole time, he's never said anything about that, about her joining him or anything. And now he's like, "Join me, you need a teacher." What? I liked how he was hitting his wound, though. It was weird and cool, and like I like that. I thought that was an interesting aspect. I was just hitting his wound, like, come on and stuff. I really liked that. But then she taps into the Force and just kicks his butt. It's like, okay, well, it's not, that matches up with the other movies, because in the other movies, everyone used the Force to wait. No, they didn't. They never used the Force to enhance their lightsaber abilities. Like, it helps you with instincts, but that's kind of it. It never helped you become, like, this great lightsaber fighter. Remember, Anakin's metachlorian count was way over Yoda's. Yes, I'm bringing metachlorians into it, because it's canon and everything. Way over Yoda's. The Obi-Wan's is way lower than Anakin's. Anakin's so much more powerful in the Force than Obi-Wan. It's not even funny. And Obi-Wan's also not known for being the best in the Force. But they fight in Episode 3, and Obi-Wan wins because he is the better saber fighter. And this is going against an Anakin who's been trained, unlike Rey, who hasn't. But Obi-Wan beats him. Guess why? Because he had the high ground, but because he's a better saber fighter. Because up until then, you see how long that fight in Revenge of the Sith is versus the one in Force Awakens? So Obi-Wan survived long enough and then got to a point to where he could beat him. Obi-Wan is the better saber fighter. But Anakin's so much more powerful in the Force. Well, the Force doesn't really matter in a saber fight. It doesn't matter all that much. And Anakin was, the most powerful. And Obi-Wan wasn't anywhere near that, but he still beat him. But now, for some reason, the Force enhances your abilities, which I just thought was stupid. And then the fight prior to that, where the janitor, Finn, is fighting Kylo Ren, and he hits him with a saber. Finn is a janitor going against a guy who's trained his entire life. What? Why? He shouldn't be able to do anything. This doesn't make sense. It was just stupid. And another thing that really bugged me was the calling of the lightsaber. When Rey is in Maz Kanata's place and the lightsaber calls to her. I hated that. The lightsaber's never called to anyone. Why is it calling to her? That doesn't make any sense. It never called to Luke. Why is this lightsaber calling to her now? It doesn't make any sense. It's just, okay, we need the plot, so I'll call to her. And the lightsaber calls her. She goes on a trippy adventure. It's like, okay. And she masters the Force. She thought the Jedi were fake, and she thought Luke was a myth. Because remember when she's there with Han Solo, she's like, "The Jedi are real," and he's like, "Yeah, I used to think like you, but then it's real, all of it." She says, "I thought Luke Skywalker was a myth." When Finn talks to her, she didn't think the Jedi were real. Yet she's a master of the Force. Just that's how it works, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense now. This is kind of sort of the end of the video. I just got a little more to say. At the end there, it should have been Leia going to see Luke. It didn't make any sense for Rey to go there to Luke, because as far as we know, they don't know each other at all. Maybe it really seems like she is his daughter, but we don't know that at all. But so from this movie, we don't know what he could be her father, but again, she thought he was a myth. So it's implying that he's not, but it really seems like he is. So there could be tension there. But as far as we know, no. These are just two characters who have never interacted with each other at all. So why are her eyes all watering up and she looks like she's about to cry when she's giving him the lightsaber? Imagine if Leia went there and went to Luke. How emotional that would have been for us as an audience. These are two characters that have a huge history, brother and sister. We've seen them go on adventures and everything. We know about these characters. And they've got a big history together. That would have been so great and so emotional. I still like that last scene with Luke, by the way. I do like that last scene. But it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And to me, with Leia, it would have been a lot more hard-hitting of a scene. And my final thoughts on this movie is the fact that Rian Johnson is screwed. Rian Johnson is the guy who is directing and writing the next Star Wars movie, Episode 8. The reason I say he's screwed is if you look at the comments or anything on any Star Wars video or blog or whatever, you will see everyone making excuses for the plot holes and everything in this movie. Like, well, this is probably going to happen in the next movie. This is probably going to happen in the next movie. Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams has set up Rian Johnson to where Rian Johnson has to fix every single plot hole and everything that J.J. Abrams did. That's all he's got to do. That's what he has to do. So J.J. Abrams can screw everything up and then be like, ha, Rian Johnson, you got to fix it all because this is what people expect. So he can't really do an original thing, and he's just screwed over. And I hate that. Like, I'm just, disappointed in me. But anyways, those are my thoughts on The Force Awakens. Again, overall, it's a good movie, just not a good Star Wars movie. At least that's how it is in my opinion. There were things I liked in the movie. I didn't completely hate it, but the bad outweighed the good for me as far as a Star Wars movie went because I hold it to a Star Wars standard. But anyways, please let me know in the comments below what do you guys think of this movie. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like.